Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with roll call. We'll just have everyone go through down their names, and that will just take the roll call, so we don't have to find a list of everybody. Yeah. I'll let you start with that.
Bubbles. Gordon Spears.
Eugene Stucco.
Louis Oakland.
Raquel Perez. And we have Anna Pepper on Zoom.
Hello. I'm not sure. What else was I supposed to say?
That's it. You're good. It's just roll call.
Okay.
One down, 8 to go.
All right, Eugene, can you just call the meeting to order?
Okay, we're opening this meeting at 6:07 tonight, and first order is public comment. Do we have any people who want to speak? Any public?
And Joel Montilla.
Oh, okay. We got one more person here, Joel Montilla.
Okay, Montilla. All right. Does anyone want to speak? Yeah.
Is there any? Well, I see 4 participants. I don't know. Is anyone else on Zoom?
Can they actually give us?
There's someone named Terry Mooney as an attendee.
Click on the attendees on the top.
Okay. So I'm going to move on about the minutes. Has everyone reviewed the last meeting's minutes, and are there any changes?
So no one in the public wants to speak? Oh, kind of, sort of, yeah. Okay.
Oh, do? All right. Maximum 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm Val Mobley, and I am working on the, I know him, so, the Right to Clean Water campaign, and we were hoping that your neighborhood committee would get behind this, because we only have 2 more months to go, and we do not have nearly enough signed petitions. The petition is just to get it on the ballot. This is what a lot of people don't understand. They want to research it and think about it and all that. We've got a whole year to think about it once we get enough petitions to get on the ballot, because it won't show up until next November. So we just need people to sign the petition so we can get on the ballot for next year. Don't ask me how many numbers we have, because I don't know. It's hard to tell from the SOE's offices, you know, how many have been approved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been there. Bigger than that.
more than once probably, yeah. So you've got an agenda item on here, petition committee, so I don't know what that's about.
That's something else, but does anyone want to sign the petition?
What is that? What is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, the right to clean water. Right now, we as individual people in the state of Florida do not have the right to clean water. So we'd like to put it into the Constitution that we all have the right to clean water. And then when we see a waterway, a body of water in the state of Florida, anywhere being polluted, we can call the Department of Environmental Protection Agency in Florida and report it. And then if they don't do anything about it, then we can sue that government agency. Each individual person would have the right to do that. We can stand up for the body of water. All of the water in the state of Florida is polluted. I don't know if y'all are aware of that. Terribly polluted. And if we don't do something to clean up the water, it's all going to end up in the aquifer, and our drinking water is also going to be polluted. And that's going to happen in all of our lifetimes. So we need this petition. Did you ever figure out what's your signature?
Some areas of aquifer are already polluted.
Yes, they are.
I will sign the petition.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the extension of the rights to clean water that came out of the Orange County Charter last time. So Chuck was one of the people that really pushed this. Already got it. So it's a rough load, because about 950,000 signed or verified signatures, which means you're going to talk about 1.1 million, which will cost you about $4 or $5 million by the time you're done.
So is there a online way for people to download, fill it out, and mail
Oh,
it?
sure. They just they go to righttocleanwater.org, and you can print off the petition and sign it, but you have to send an original signature to the supervisor of elections. And they have to verify it. So that's why you can't do it online.
So maybe we can provide a link on one of the public websites that we might have in the community, and then a hot link to that, and then with the explanation, download it, sign it, mail it, or drop it off at the SUE.
So if you wanna email my staff, what we can, a message that we email this committee or this council members, then they can send it out to their friends and Facebook if you guys.
That'd be great. We need all the help we can get.
Okay, so, any other people want to get talk?
Just a reminder to speak up so that people online can hear you.
Can you guys hear us online?
I can hear okay.
Okay,
By the way, I've already made sure that petitions from our household have been mailed, so I keep recruiting others.
Thank you.
okay, approval of the 7/31/23 minutes, has everyone reviewed them? And we have a motion to approve.
I move, so moved, Jim.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any changes? See none? I call for a vote. Yay. One.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? Okay, let's move on to the next thing, try and get through this fast. Considerations, additions to the agenda. Are there, again, the agenda that we have before us, is there anything else that we need to add as a new business at the end, or does anyone on the board see anything?
I believe Kelly was going to add something new to it, but we can make those part of the new business
Okay,
as well as we.
as soon as she gets here, she's driving through a massive rainstorm right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
So
coming.
we'll
from-
push that to new business.
Yeah, she'll be here, and she has to leave at 7:30 because she has a karate class at 8:05.
Okay.
For their son. Okay, so we approved the agenda. Okay, so there's no changes, so we have a first motion to approve the agenda.
So
Okay. Any, second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? I'm not seeing anything. Oh, yay, nay, yay, okay. Nays? Okay. Move on to the next thing. Good. Okay, update on CRC, that's my thing.
I'm gonna send it over.
Okay, we initiative petition, D5 is well represented on that committee. Myself and Chuck O'Neill is the other representative, we're both in that committee. We are successfully moving through that document and eliminating it. We're trying our best to reduce it back to pre-2016, back to what we had in 2012. And we've made many motions to eliminate many sections. We got it down to 3%, and I think 4%. 3% for the ordinance, 4%, if I remember correctly, for a petition for the charter. And that's based on the total number of citizens in Orange County, which is different than typically in most, like what you're working on is based on the last election cycle of the president. It's a big number difference. It's 890,000 plus in this county. If you look at the presidential, it's about 640,000 actually voted. So it's big. They have those that, that's why we went that lower number, because we have a big number, and so we have expensive costs to deal with it. So we're moving through that. We have another meeting on that coming up, I believe, on the 11th. At Citizen Initiative Charter at 11 a.m. on the October 11th is our next, and that's going to probably be up in the 4th floor conference room here. The expansion government structure, we went through, we had a talk today about the past. One of the concerns of the commission, one of the commissioners, is the cost of if we add additional commissioners, where we're going to put them and how expensive it would be. So we had a talk today from the OPM group up on the 3rd floor about Previously, we had looked at, as a county, building a new structure on 33rd Street, that was canned. But now they're considering other options, either space, buying space, office space, or building something. That's going to be coming before the BCC, and the mayor is leading that, of course. And that will be coming before the BCC pretty shortly, I believe. They didn't give us a lot of details on square footage. They just said that they're looking at many different options. They have a consultant that's working on it too. So that's what we came with that. We had a meeting this morning at 11 this morning on the third floor. And one of the things we talked about is the type of government we have, in the sense that currently we have a strong mayor. There's a debate within the committee, either making it a weak mayor, meaning pure executive, no legislature, or keeping it the same with some changes. Now, Commissioner Bonilla, along with me, pointed out that we have been saying that what about getting rid of the mayor and going with strictly a manager type system, which is the majority of the state. If you look at all 20 charters counties, there's only one other county that has something close to what we have, which is Miami-Dade. We threw Duval out because Duval is kind of a different place. They're often slightly different. But I know two of us are strongly supportive of it. Looking at the votes, we don't have the votes to actually do what we think we want to do. So I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to need support from the public to say what type of government we want, because we have a chance potentially to just do away with the mayor and go with a manager, which, if you take it purely executive, then you have to ask the question, if you only have executive powers, that's a manager with all of the overhead of a mayor, which that mayor's office is many times more expensive than a commissioner's office. Commissioner Bonilla can tell me. They don't have those numbers for us. We've asked for the numbers. So we should see those numbers, what the mayor's office costs versus a commissioner office. So that is happening. Term limits we've not talked about yet, because we're dealing with the mayor question first, and that's the government structure is part of the mayor issue. The expansion of the commissioner, which is either one or two commissioners. That's up for debate still too. The charter cleanup committee, we've addressed the cleanup at this point with only looking at one or two sections, but we're not moving on that because we're actually now looking at the affordable housing question. So we've had a number of meetings there talking about what is the county doing, and for my housing authority, we have a meeting coming up on that. 4th. The government committee is meeting again next Wednesday at 1:30 in the afternoon. So if anyone wants to come, we have a meeting next week at 1:30 up on the 4th floor in Martha Cohaney conference room.
What day of the week?
Wednesday. Let's see, affordable housing, I think is. No, we don't have that yet. We don't have a date on that yet. The rural boundary is actually part of it. That's Eric's. That would be sorry, we gotten so many issues on each committee. I get confused. Is it 12? You're probably right. Standard. Okay, standard growth. Okay, yes, it's at 10 a.m. Same place upstairs. And that will be talking about the rural boundary. That's something that Kelly put forward, and now as a commission, we're looking at that. A number of us asked a number of questions at the last one. One thing is anything outside the urban area that we call urban today doesn't have a future land use. So the land east of the econ doesn't have an overlay of a flume of future land use. And also all the farmland out or Deseret doesn't have a future land uses. Right now, agricultural is 1 to 10. So those land uses, we don't have a problem like we have in Shingle Creek, where we have a future land use over wetland, which is going to cost the county a lot of money probably. So that meeting's coming up. We're making really good progress on that. I have a lot of hope that something's going to come out good from that committee. Again, we need citizens to come out and voice your opinions and hopefully support on protecting the rural areas. The public bank is a totally new concept. We have a meeting come up on the, let's see that, I think it's the 11th. Yes, 11th. On the 11th, we at 1:30, which is a Wednesday again. We have another talk, and this is really, if you guys want to learn something, because none of us know exactly what this means. This was put forward by a citizen, and this is going education on what we can do as a society in a public banking institution, because none of us, including the attorney, has really any idea. So we're gonna have professors zooming in on WebEx and discussing this with us and trying to broaden our brains to try to figure out, can we do this as a charter, and if so, how? And then we have to write it and then present it to the commission, and then get it, if it passes, then it goes out to the public.
Which one is that meeting?
That is at 1:30 in the afternoon. Most of these meetings are always on Wednesdays. Usually we have slots of 11 a.m. to 12:30 or 1:30 to 3 o'clock. So that's typically what we try to do on Wednesdays, sometimes on other days, but I'm the linchpin because I've already told them I'm not here on Thursday afternoons onward to Monday because I do travel work. So I will be here for business meetings, which are Mondays. Okay, so moving on to update why local art act. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, so that's the local act, and that is Florida statute that was passed at the last session. And what this does is preempt the local governments from doing a lot when it comes to, we can't do rent stabilization anymore. They preempted us, I'll call it that, but it's in a different way where there are commercial properties across the county and industrial properties, or industrial zones or commercial zone across the county, that if someone wants to come in and do affordable housing, they can go ahead and do that, and they skip over the county commission. So we won't be able to look at it or decide on it or anything like that. It'll just go straight to staff, and staff will work with them and move it forward. Now, if they ask for any variances or waivers or anything like that, then they have to come back, they have to go through the regular process. So I know we do have some concerns on that, but another preemption was that we can't do any tenant bill of rights either. So basically anything to regulate landlords, and I say that loosely because there may be something else that we can do, but I'm still researching that. But you know, they're trying to stop us from being able to do anything with landlords. And you know, of course, I feel like everything I do, you know, the state comes up with preemption. You know, personally attacked. I'm sure it's not just me.
It's all of us. When our very first meeting, our council said that Orange County is on the bullseye. Anything we do in this county will be attacked by the legislature. So anything we do that's progressive will be somehow stopped. But that doesn't stop us. The preemption doesn't stop.
We still should continue doing what we're doing though, and
It's
really
on the books. That's
serving
the
our
most important.
constituents.
The key thing is we gotta get on the books. And this is the way I felt with the clean water. I knew we were gonna get preempted months before it even happened, because the guy told me he was gonna go talk to the buds. So I knew it was gonna happen. But the thing is, it's on the books. So we just have to wait for the change of government up in Tallahassee. And hopefully most of us will be still alive when that happens. You will be still alive. I don't know about me. But honestly, it's what we're gonna have to wait for. It's a change of government in Tallahassee. Because we've been preempted on everything. One of the things I brought up was about gun control. They preempted us on guns, of course. He preempted us on bullets. They preempted us on the zoning of where we can put gun shops. So you can have a cobbler's joint by the school, but you can't have a gun seller right by the school.
Well, definitely with the local act, there are there could be unintended consequences. One of the things that's really, maybe an issue in our district is that we have the research park, which has a military base. Every single year, local governments are worried about the federal government taking away our military bases and moving them to another location or shutting them down due to budget reasons or whatever. So this actually puts us on the chopping block for that possibly to happen in our research park. So that's something that, I have to work with the research park, the military, and our county staff to see if we can find some solutions to that, or see if there's anything in there with the research park and regulations they have or policies that might make this in a way that doesn't include that in this act, where any affordable housing developer just come in and build. But the other thing is with this, with local act and that policy, they're only required to have affordable housing for a certain amount of years. So any for-profit developer can come in and be like, ooh, I'm just gonna do this. And they can wait it out. They're, Wall Street corporations. They can wait out anything. They come in, build this, say it's affordable. After that 20, I think, believe it's 20 year, after that 20-year mark is over, they make it all for-profit housing. Which is why we're in the affordable housing crisis that we're in right now. Because a lot of the ones we did have was also 20 years and they're expiring, and now we don't have the affordable housing units that we need. Do you have any questions on any of that?
Yeah, I think the housing committee that we're looking at might consider somehow doing something local that we own as a government that we can control and actually manage it, so we don't have to. And we're not sure how that's going to work because we can't tie the hands of the commission, but we can come up with some concepts, policy, in the charter maybe to address this. Because I agree, we put all this money in as communities to build these things. We help these companies build it, and they end us at sit for 20 years, and bam, it's theirs, and we lose the housing stock. So somehow we got to, as a community, say we got to, and this has been done in other communities and other countries where the government takes on that responsibility and they build the housing. They could potentially, fee simple sell the units, but they maintain a deed restriction on that property and maintain maybe if it's multi-story, a co-op or something like that. So there's different options. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation when we start digging into that in our community.
Community land trusts are also another option for them to maintain that affordability. But we're looking at a lot of those properties that are losing their affordability to see if we can bring it into the community land trust fund so that they will then be affordable.
Yeah, I think that's definitely really important. We have the surplus properties too that those could be used as land trust rather than just given away to developers.
Can you explain a little bit how that works?
So a community land trust is an organization that I work for a community land trust.
Is that 501c3?
Yes. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We own the land. If it's a home ownership opportunity, the homeowner owns the improvement, which is the house. But because we own the land, we're able to decrease the cost of the property for the homeowner, which makes it affordable. And because we own the land lease for 99 years, renewable for another 99 years, keep that property affordable in perpetuity. So if someone purchases a property, and then they move and they sell the property, they keep some of the equity. We keep some of the equity so that we can keep it affordable for the next person who buys it, and the next person who buys it, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't lose its affordability, as in the example that Commissioner Bonilla gave, at a certain period. So it stays affordable, doesn't go back to that fair market. And it works the same for
multifamily, we don't have any multifamily in Central Florida right now, but same thing. We're keeping right.
Yeah, with this local act, before we had to list them on our surplus properties. Now other agencies are required to as well. But they're hoping that would increase the list of surplus properties that could be used, let's say, in a land trust or something like that.
Maybe there's.
So if it's part of the land trust, does it come off the list of surplus properties?
Yes.
Okay.
So at that point, could the county, if we do a banking, public banking or some type of housing modification to the charter, could we actually work together with the community trust and help finance on this, and have some type of financial deal where we can upfront the money and get paid back and replenish that fund? Maybe that's a way to use the house concept.
Yeah, I don't know how the public bank really works.
I don't know
It's still a
either,
mystery to me,
So, I mean, it's something that, you know, I'm willing to play with it, just about anything, and see if we can do this, because it really irritates me. My neighborhood, you guys don't know where I live, but my house was a HUD development. It was a redevelopment, and half the homes were sold at fee simple, lower cost. They bought single family homes, single women, typically with families, got to buy the homes at much reduced value plus a very basically zero interest loan for 30 years. But the problem is after 10 years of payments, it totally rose into that they own it totally as a ownership thing, and we lose that property from being a home, affordable housing in the future, that was the model. I don't particularly like it, because now we have people that will sell properties potentially in the future for very huge profits, which are now unaffordable again. Because these homes originally, when they were bought back in 2001, 2003, were being sold for about $89,000 a mile from this house where we sit here. They're now about $300,000 plus.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next item, which is the Lake Picket North development. And this is gonna be a quick one because there's no updates. So they have not responded to staff's request for changes and updates. So staff is really waiting for that.
So somebody from staff told me that they expected it to go on in October agenda for planning and zoning. Does that seem realistic to you?
I mean, they are hoping for that, but they're still waiting for them to respond.
Right.
They haven't provided the information, the updates.
What do you mean? First weekend or this week?
I'm not sure what that.
So,
Third Thursday.
what about the lawsuit that's currently on that same line?
Yes,
How's that affect?
there's a gentleman, his name is Mitchell Katz. I think that he's Dr. Mitchell Katz. He works for the county. I'm not sure if he's part of UPD, but he came to a Vision 2050 meeting, and then we saw him at the meeting that you scheduled for, were we in the fifth floor, the conference room with all the staff? I forget what that meeting.
Oh,
It was just a couple of weeks ago.
with the
With
three commissioners,
Pamela Seibel?
Yes. So the issues that are going on for her rural settlement area. So Dr. Katz, so he's the one who's overseeing the investigation on the county side on the illegal borrow pit or the sand pit, where they have been excavating sand out of the Econ River, selling it for concrete, and then they got a grant to bury debris into the river, and now the water is showing carbon pollution. And so they're claiming that everything is how it is supposed to be, but what has happened is they've excavated so that they're pooling the water in that area, and it's drying up downstream. The water's not flowing. So there's damage repair that needs to be done. And according to him, Orange County cannot allow for any rezoning on a property when there's open legal litigation against an applicant. So from his perspective, it should be thrown out. And the court case, which was closed door, had a Zoom link, but you had to be an invited party, you couldn't get into it. There was a ruling this week, but I don't know what it was. But it was a state lawsuit that Orange County joined as a party of interest. And it involves all of the landholders on Lake North. So they have really screwed themselves, but they've also caused a lot of damage to an outstanding waterway.
So which court case, is this District 5 or is it some internal magistrate type thing that why can't,
It's an operation that has been, you provided notice 5 years ago. They have the original documentation as part of the court case, and it's 5 years that they've allowed for this to go on, and it bounced around from the state to St. John's Water Management to the county, and it just kept falling through cracks in terms of who's responsible. But at this point now, the econ is contaminated with that pollution.
So there are several, to say, agencies that have violations against them. There are several magistrate cases that are ongoing. It's because they're violating so many different things.
So why haven't we sent the sheriff out? If they're still doing operations and they have a cease and desist, why don't we send the sheriff out?
They do have a cease and desist from the Florida Department of Protection, and
Can we ask that?
so I got a video of a truck just earlier this week, just dropping off more debris.
Dr. Katz has asked, whenever we get pictures, send it to him, because he's like, I don't have the manpower to go out there every day to look. He also flew a drone over and was shot down.
What?
What about the Army Corps of Engineers?
I mean, the Army Corps is, it's a nautical order, so it's Army.
I will tell you that
That should
the
be
only
under
reason,
this jurisdiction.
the only reason why the Florida Department of Protection is even doing anything about that is because I had called them, I had complained, they went out, and they were like, oh, we don't see anything. I said, you need to go back out there, because here are these pictures and videos I actually took, and one was at night. And you need to take a shovel with you. And you need to dig, because you will find debris about 1 or 2 feet down. And so they went back out there, because I was like, these are pictures. You can't tell me nothing's happening. I have proof. So they were forced, because of my pictures and videos, to go out there with a shovel. And then they found it, and that's why they're moving forward, because otherwise they would have been like, this is not there. And I had to tell them, yeah, there is.
The case is for illegal discharge and unauthorized wetland clearing and infilling.
So that's one of them.
Yeah.
So there's another one for them doing what's called a yard waste facility without a permit. So that's the one with the FDP. And then the county is doing one with the they're not allowed to take dirt off their property. That's another one that the county's working on. And then
They're also not allowed to bring debris on that's not theirs. So it's the incoming debris. It's what Dr. Katz
the yard waste. That's
Yeah,
the
the yard
debris.
waste coming in is illegal and the dirt going out is not permitted.
So we come up, should we investigate the Army Corps involved? Because Army Corps would be the Fed, and my perception is the federal government right now might be more useful at this point than the
The state of Florida.
The
Well,
state
I
of
will
Florida.
say I have not reached out to the Army Corps. So that would be a great idea, because the thing is that the only reason why Florida is doing this and the county is because I reported it 5 years ago. I did not report it to the federal government.
5
So
years ago would have been good.
I
but
checked, I
today
did
would be-
report to St. John's. I don't know what they did with it, if anything.
The problem, I think, is.
I also did with the Florida Wildlife, and they did, because they were gopher tortoises there, I'm pretty sure they destroyed their habitat. They didn't do anything. I almost every agency, at least statewide.
There's nothing in the state of Florida I would trust today, honestly.
At the time when you reported
you
it to
can
the St.
tell
John's
me
Water
about
Management District, they have the record. It'd be interesting, there's some massive conflict of interest because your report was received by John Nicholas, and he's also the biotech lab engineer that cleared them for their permit with St. John's Water Management District. So he was a recipient of
He
your.
also was the chair of the board of that 25 years ago, so he had major conflicts.
So I think it's worth reporting these again to the agencies that are not doing anything.
Yeah. I think we should make an official letter come out. This group was the commissioner to the Army Corps requesting that a cease and desist should.
Yeah, so we could
I think we
send
should
to
ask.
the other agencies, whatever other agencies,
Maybe-
or in the ones that are not to like the Florida Wildlife, the Fish and Wildlife, try again.
No,
The important one
Army
is the
Corps.
US Army Corps of Engineers.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife has really nothing.
They have primary jurisdiction over waters of the US, and that includes the Yukon.
Is that navigable?
Yes, it is. It's navigable.
Yeah.
It is totally navigable, and it is. U.S. Fish and Wildlife doesn't really have anything there except maybe endangered birds, and what protection do they have? Just pay the money. But Army Corps is the group that we need to get involved, and we have to reach out to congressional person Frost and get some PR on this. I mean, let's just put the heat on them and get some PR done.
Yeah,
Army
the
Corps.
Army Corps needs to be involved in this.
Is there
Relying on the state is useless.
Yeah, the state of Florida is so broken at this state point that they're unable or unwilling to do anything. You can make the report, it's going to go in file 13.
So I'll tell you, some other information I got. So there's this guy who is a farmer who is going to lobby the state to allow this to be legal, what's happening at this property, who says he has connections.
You can do that, but again, Army Corps has jurisdiction rights over that order. You might,
You don't have to have really strong connections to get something done with the county. You need stronger connections to get it done with the state, but to get it through the feds, get it through the Corps of Engineers and EPA, that takes a lot of power and a lot of money. So I think the Army Corps is the agency that we need to take this to. Now, the only problem with this is that a lot of the functions of the Corps of Engineers have been delegated to the state of Florida during the Trump administration. And, but I don't think that enforcement is one of the functions that got delegated to DEP.
I mean, one of the things is embarrassment. We can also do public displays and stuff. So,
Yeah, embarrassment doesn't seem to be a very effective.
not at the state, but maybe, to the federal level at this point, because the state, I'm a volunteer for the state, and we're driving broken vehicles left and right. We don't have the staff. The state of Florida is totally broken at this point. At so many levels, it barely is functional.
Well, good thing for term limits, 2026.
Well, I mean, we live in a different place because Orange County, unlike most of the state, actually is a pretty functional government compared to the state government.
Are there any comments from online? I see red, like there's a chat, something in the chat.
I can't see anything.
I don't have any comments.
No comments.
Let's see if we can get that.
I see that thing.
All right, so the next item is Flores Wedgefield project with Orange County Utility. That did not go as well as I had hoped. We didn't, because the straw poll with the community wasn't very supportive. Do you want to take on this one? She's been doing a lot of work on it.
It's just, it wasn't very successful. I think they need 67% for the straw poll, for the comptroller to look at the straw poll once it becomes an official ballot item. And they did not get that 67% or even close to 60 or 50 even. The reason is because they put it out during, I believe it was in June. They gave a month to the residents of Wedgefield to return the straw poll ballots. A lot of people were saying that they did not receive it, that they were on vacation. What was the other reason that?
They didn't understand it.
They didn't understand it. Everyone that did not return the stronghold ballot was counted as a no instead of no reply. So that really skewed the numbers. But for the people that did return the ballots, 58% were supportive, and that still isn't 67%. But there were 2 community meetings before this, and a lot of people were very confused on the language of the stronghold ballots. And by the time I got to this project and I tried putting out infographics just to help with the effort, it was too late, I would say, because the stronghold ballots were due the Monday, and we put them out like the weekend before. So that phase did not go well with the rest of the board.
Do we have any Wedgewood people here tonight?
No, but they were here at another
Yeah,
night,
I just
if
don't
you
know.
remember.
If we have anyone from that area that
No.
can speak on it.
But what we had
We don't know about the sewage issue.
I have no idea what this is about.
We need
Oh,
to brief.
Oh, a little bit of background, Commissioner, would be great.
Okay, so Flores is a private water utility company in Wedgefield.
Right.
That was there since they started back in,
1960s.
somewhere, back when they first started as Rocket City. So the problem is that they're not getting quality water. Though they say the water's brown, it tastes bad, it smells, it's not something you want to drink or even take a shower
Do they
in.
have a well into the Florida now, or is that what
Yes.
they have?
Yes, they do.
And
And
they
so
still get fresh water out there.
I,
I can't believe, no, they can't.
we
So I
don't
don't
have,
choose to get fresh water out there, so.
It's all good.
we don't know if it's,
It might
well,
be-
they're passing the water quality tests with the Florida.
With the-
Anyway, the state of Florida, they're passing the quality.
Sewage.
Now I'm laughing, but it's not for all the stuff that you guys said about the state. So anyways, we don't, look, they're collecting their own water samples and sending it off to the state, for their water quality tests.
And there are rumors that those numbers are being smudged.
I know.
The rumors are coming from residents and
And the rumor is that somebody is fudging the numbers,
So, I mean,
somebody at DEP.
someone at Flores and then sending it forward to.
Okay, so Flores is a,
it's a private
Water
water
utility
That's
resources.
quality.
Was that their water?
You know,
they're, okay, Flores
Is the company.
is the water utility of Westfield. Okay,
They provide supposedly fresh water and sewage to there's a small segment in Wedgewood, most of it is those 5 acre lots.
right.
There's an urban area in the middle where the red light comes in off 520.
Yeah, so the higher density area,
Higher
considering the
density.
urban area, and then you have the estate area that's like 5 acre properties.
Is it where that golf course is?
Yeah,
in that area.
yeah.
And the issue where it came before the commission, there is a study happening, but the study is just kind of a marketing stand, $88,000 or something like that.
Yeah, so we, they already had some sort of study and talks. We hired a consultant to do all this work. They got like a price down, but that's not an exact appraisal. So we have 5 phases that I had started back in 2017, 2018, I forget now. Where I was asking for us to move forward to the 3rd phase. The 3rd phase would get us an appraisal of the facility, because if people want us to buy this utility in Orange County to take it over and provide service, and we'll have to upgrade the facility and everything. So when the mayor heard that, well, that's not the full study, it's just an appraisal. After all the 5 phases, we're gonna have a $1 million study, which goes through everything, all the pipes, and sees what upgrades are needed. And whatever that cost is going to be like, if you were buying a house and,
You wouldn't know.
so you have the easiest way to explain it is like if you're buying a house. So let's say you're buying a house, and so they're like, this is the sales price for this house, right? That's all we got right now. The next phase is us getting an appraisal to see actually what the value is. That was phase 3. That was having to struggle trying to get that moved forward, because we didn't have the 67%. So then after you get an appraisal, you're going into negotiation, you have an inspection, right? And with that inspection, it's like, okay, now that here's all these things that are wrong that really need to be fixed. Now you can negotiate the price of the house. So that would come after all of these 5 phases. The mayor was concerned about that $1 million price tag on that inspection. I'm just saying this because that's not what it's really called, but like here it's a house buying. And what that additional cost may be, which may not come out of the sales price, but may be added on to what the citizens now have to pay, because the whole purchase is not being paid by the taxpayers of Orange County. It's going to be bonded and paid off by the citizens of Wedgefield through their property taxes.
But it's gonna be somehow underwritten by the county.
Yes,
Otherwise, there's no point in the county getting involved at all.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the whole deal. So, you know, we got kind of stuck at the BCC meeting of moving to phase 3 because the mayor is now thinking about like after, he's thinking like 2, 3 phases ahead.
Problem with this whole thing is the amount of money that we're looking at. There's a potential rebuilding the entire system because the line has not been maintained since it was put in 1962 or 3 in acid type water. It's very acidic soils there.
But you know, and there's
Are we
another,
willing to spend $100 million?
there's a deed restriction too. So these individuals can dig their own wells for water if they wanted to because of the deed restriction. You know, just something that we have to talk about too. If there's another option, maybe if the county does buy it, get them out of that deed restriction, they're still gonna have to pay for that though. But then they can dig their own wells rather than all the costs of the
Shallow
county.
water wells.
Huh?
Shallow wells.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, we need all these studies though to see.
The
if
issue
that's-
So what I don't understand is why is the county wanting to get involved in this private utility issue? Let the private utility come up with a solution, and if they can't, then.
So the other
Then
part
they're
that
gonna leave a part of the county that should have never been settled in the first place.
So the other part that I did not mention is the cost of the water. So this private utility company, every time they do an improvement, they raise the prices of the residents.
Sure.
So often they're raising the price anyway. They're paying, what is it, for someone who's an elderly couple who barely uses the water because they don't want to, buy in bulk water, they're paying almost $200-300 a month in water that they're not using.
Okay, but that doesn't explain why the county wants to get involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, we're helping out.
Because everyone deserves drinkable water out of,
I know,
not
but
something that they
if
can't
you
afford.
signed up with a private utility, then your issue is with the private utility, not with the county.
But it's a monopoly.
But why are we bailing
They
out?
have
private-
absolutely no control.
This is what I don't get. Why are we bailing out a private utility? It would have never developed that, that property without the private utility being out there.
This is-
And now they want the county to bail them out
This
because they've run out of fresh water.
We're not bailing out the utility company, we're bailing out the people.
Well, it's a delayed action.
Yeah.
Let's say we have that new development that you guys,
Well, actually, they're paying for it though, the people.
well, that's what
Like
it should.
county's not gonna pay for
I
it.
don't think they're gonna afford to pay for it personally. Yeah, but if you have the grow, for instance, this is the grow of 1963 that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Essentially the same thing. Some guy went out there, speculated, and built this on the thought that they could sell homes to engineers from NASA moving in for the space program in the 1960s. It didn't happen. But now we got a bunch of people who are looking for less expensive homes, moving out there, not doing their homework. I'm sorry, when I buy a house on the Econ years ago, I did my homework on what the soils were and how high they sat. The problem out there is even if you dig such shallow wells, there's a good chance you're gonna hit salty water. Because the salt water intrusion is really bad out there. Basically, all the wells I know, our friends, going to know nurseries out there shut down their wells because of salt water intrusion off Taylor Creek Road. Half the wells that Cocoa Beach draws from on the Warren property is now shut down. So half of Cocoa Beach has lost their water from Orange County. So that's where the salt water intrusion, this is deep water. And even the shallow water has a pretty high salt content out there because historically the St. John's was a saltwater bay up until a few thousand years ago.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
long term, I don't see that there's any viability to having people live out there because there's already no fresh water. And for the county to fix this, that means that we have to assume the cost of very expensive infrastructure to transfer water from the parts of the county that do have fresh water to this part of the county that doesn't have fresh water, but it's got a lot of people who live there. And you know who lives there? People that moved out there to get away from the government, and now they're coming and asking the government to help them out when they're in a time of trouble. I mean, this is just a real bad idea all the way around. And throwing good money out after bad to fix this problem, I don't think is going to work out for the county. And the county is going to underwrite it in one way or the other. Now, you may think that you're going to recoup your investment by charging extra fees to the residents, but if nobody lives there, you're not going to get anything. And if it's expensive enough, then the people will start leaving. And it's just, this is the reason why there shouldn't be development in East Orange County. Anything east of the Econ, it's going to be just like this. And then we shouldn't perpetuate it by subsidizing it.
To pivot off of my work.
Sorry, Bob has been raising his hand.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I understood to be part of the problem as such is back in the day, that in order to get approval of the development, the developer had to build what in effect was a private utility, water. Otherwise, it wouldn't fly as far as approval for building approval. What I understood was part of the problem is that there's deed restrictions that are tied in that the developer put in and are being transferred as such that in effect I don't know if the developer is still active in Plurus as far as ownership or stock or whatever, but what the effect is, the deed restriction is every time the deed is transferred as such at a sale, the deed restriction hasn't been removed. And so Plurus has the ability, because of the deed restriction, the legal, to continue to do the water. In other words, it becomes self-perpetuating, if that makes any sense to anybody.
To add to that question, is it actually written into the deed or is that HOA restriction? Because if it's an HOA, they didn't have HOAs back then.
No, it's a deed
So it's a
restriction.
deed restriction. So
Yeah, it's a deed restriction because the developer is the one that subdivides.
the problem out there is you got multiple problems. The other big problem, okay, but the shallow wells, let's assume you actually get fresh water out and you have to treat it for saltwater issues.
Yeah.
The perk tanks out there are going to fail because they built in wetlands. So how are you going to use a septic tank when it flows out on the ground?
Eugene, all of the problems that you're bringing up are ones that are caused by the deed restriction being there. The deed restriction gives them incredible power as such, and until you take that power away from them in some way, we're bound by that. You're bound by it. The government is bound by
I
that.
mean, you could, as HOA, potentially go back and try to use.
It's not HOA. No, it's not HOA. It's a deed restriction because they couldn't develop the property without the water.
I agree with Gordon. That's Anna.
Okay, that's Anna. Whose hands up? Okay, that's Anna.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that I support Gordon's comments. I would be making the same ones if I was there.
Okay. I mean, unfortunately, they bought into a bad deal. They should have done their homework. Buyer beware. I mean, it's like buying a house without doing a title search and finding out it's owned by someone else.
I agree totally with you, but
it's hard.
Guess what? Stupid is what stupid is, and it's going to be the people, like Emily is saying. Do we represent the people and try and solve their problem, or do we effectively say we're caving into what the developers has control?
There's been a problem out there for. I sat with Bobby Beagle back in the 90s when we were talking about the extension of the pipeline, and they were coming out and then asking for the fresh water line to be going out to them. Yeah, and they also, part of the reason why you have a Publix out there is because of them. I fought against that Publix. I'm like, you moved it.
That's what the force.
That's what those guys were promised by the developer, that they would get a school, they would get a Publix across the street. Remember, there used to be a little elementary school, like, they knocked it down since down by 20. But they were promised a bunch of stuff when they moved out there 20, 30, 40 years ago. But the developer doesn't owe them anything. It's a scam. The other issue about this
It's about
package.
60 years.
I just
It's
want
like-
to say, I just want to circle back regarding Plurus and the rural boundary. I need to find a better way to position the rural boundary. But if you just look at District 5, the GROW, $350 million in infrastructure costs for taxpayers to pay to change the force main size to service water to the GROW. The reclaimed water lines, after the GROW is constructed, will not be in for 7 years. That means they're dumping our drinking water on their grass for 7 years. We have it confirmed from the Utilities Department. Now we add on Plurus. Let's just say we get away lucky, and this is only going to cost us $100 million. You're looking at almost $500 million for just District 5, subsidized by taxpayers so that a developer could get rich.
So how many people?
So the
4,000?
rural boundary is, the intention is, it's a cost-saving mechanism for taxpayers. We shouldn't be put in this position, and we're put in it because we let developments occur in areas where they should not be.
We gotta be.
Not
hard.
every place
Say
is
sorry.
suitable for development. It just isn't. And now we're in a position of, we got people who don't have access to affordable clean water. And you got a corporation that knows it and is gonna take advantage of it. So what do you do? You know, it's a hard situation to be on either side of that coin. And it shouldn't be there.
But we
It
just
shouldn't be there.
talked about the housing crisis. We don't have the money to do it. But we have 100 million plus 350 million, 450 million to build and help a developer for 4,000, let's say 5,000 people.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, we have $500 million and now we have $1, for example. Where do you want to put it? You want to put it out in the east side to fix the toilet over there? Or do you want to put it in housing in downtown or in the urban area? That's our choice. We don't have unlimited money, so we have to make hard choices. If you make bad choices in life, sorry. And I won't
You
get
know,
less. That's okay.
as an urban dweller, I'm against using any of my tax money to subsidize the people that chose to live out there in Litchfield. They went out there so they could live this independent, rugged individualist lifestyle, and don't come begging the county when your water goes bad. That's the way I feel about it. Now, I also, going back to the question about money, I think that's really important, and the county should always consider money, but for any of these projects.
But they never have.
Like the GROW
Right.
or
Sustaining.
Subsidy. And I'm of the opinion that if we look out for the money in a very strict way, that a lot of these other problems will take care of themselves. We won't have as much destruction of habitat if we're looking out for the money, because where does destruction of habitat happen? Out on the rural fringe. And so the most efficient way for us to spend our limited resources is in the dense urban core, and we should concentrate our development there, not because it's better, but because it's more affordable, because that's the biggest bang for the buck we're going to get for our tax money.
It's the biggest return on investment.
It's the biggest return on investment for our tax money, and we should not waste our tax money subsidizing development in places that it shouldn't go or shouldn't have gone. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a politically bad position for you.
It is politically bad, but
Today, that was my campaign's messages,
So,
Flores, just be clear though, like any of the money spent on that purchase and the upgrades are on the people of Litchfield. They're even being charged a 50% increase on the Orange County water bill for the increased cost of running that system.
It still will impact our bond.
But it shouldn't have been done.
And if it impacts our bonding rate, then we start paying more money for the bonds that we're trying to do in other areas. So I mean, it's not without cost to the taxpayers of Orange County.
And honestly, there's not big enough operation to pay the
That's the same
cost.
argument I'm having right now with the TDT.
Yes,
You know,
Yes.
they wanna bond all this,
900 million.
So
billions of dollars.
this
Yeah.
brings up a conversation that we've had. Oh, we have a hand up.
I just wanted to mention that the right to clean water, that the amendment you just learned about, that would introduce a pathway to funding from the state to correct those problems, especially because of the preemptions that prevent municipalities from solving them themselves. The right to clean water would essentially say, fine, you won't let us fix it, you fix it. And it would be a justification for state funds that 500 million that you mentioned to come into play.
So maybe
You know, I just think that any money spent out there is wasted because 20 or 30 years, it's gonna be a salt marsh anyway.
That doesn't give me any hope because I am a resident of Wedgefield.
Well, that's the ocean's rising. And unfortunately, that's the problem like Nona. A lot of us in the environmental community are saying, the way the ocean's gonna be rising by the end of the century, that's gonna be a wetland. St. John's historically, if you go out to the St. John's on 46th day, there's salt marshes there. There are salt marshes. Same species as Cape Canaveral. Dusky seaside sparrow up to 40 years ago used to live there. There's a reason why they lived there. Same place. Cape Canaveral, same basin. Just moved out when the ocean went down. It's coming back. It will be here. So we got to plan.
Do you have anything?
And I, you know, as a taxpayer, resident of Westfield, I do pay my share of taxes to, you know, as part of an Orange County resident. And I will speak to me personally, not representing my community, but a lot of the things that are part of those taxes, I'm not afforded because again, I made a choice to live out there. I don't have accessibility to a lot of the things that our urban locations do, but I pay my taxes. I pay into those buckets that I don't get to benefit from. But I made a choice. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I did my homework, I made my choice, and I felt that was what it was in the best interest of my lifestyle and the choices that I made.
Did they disclose to you?
I do not
The
have to deal with the
florist
florist issue. So I can't speak to that and I try not to because again, I'm on the estate section. So I can't speak to I can only speak to what is collectively shared in social media, in social media platforms, which again, I take that as a grain of salt. It's not factual, verified information. So I can only say that it has been a topic of discussion that has become an issue, not necessarily a financial issue, but more of a health issue at this point. And I mean, and you're right, it should be addressed. And if anything, a private organization being held accountable.
Yeah. And I don't mention the health implications of it because everyone can say there's no real studies, and there aren't any because no one wants to do the studies. First of all, we don't have studies on a lot of things because people don't want to do the studies. But so I don't go into the health implications of it just because of the lack of studies that are done.
I mean, throughout this county, we have that problem. In the legal room vote, we've been fighting and trying to get Conserve 2 looked at from the grid system because we have a geologist and hydrologist part of our organization saying we think that is a problem due to what springs is coming from there, but they won't do a dye test. And the engineers in charge of it won't give us any data on how they came up with the model. So it's happening throughout the county, and that's going to be a couple $100 million to fix too. Once we prove, which I believe is right, because the hydrology, those problems didn't appear to after the new grid system went online. It happened after 85 that we started getting high nitrates in the Guyver system. So there's a correlation there pretty high. So we have these problems all around the county, and we do need some type of economic group. We're thinking about something for charge. Be truthful. Because I'm gonna introduce something probably next month on this.
But you're dealing with issues that, again, I would say that most people don't understand because the law, even the law today, is not that you have to disclose floodplains when you transfer property. And my God, it's one of the most important things in Florida that you could possibly do. But you can have talked to real estate agents and even real estate lawyers who don't know a damn thing about it. But the insurance companies sure as hell know about it. And that's what you're getting into with this. It's a legacy and effect of a landmine that was planted by developers by saying development at all costs is such. And now we've got all these landmines that we've got to deal with, that we've got to unwind. And some of them like are tied up in legal knots.
Last night, we were at Shingle Creek. And there, unfortunately, we have a future land use overlay on that. That's going to come before you, and it's going to be a cap like now. Because these people want to develop biotech. Yeah, it's in charge of the biology, so we can trust that it's going to be good biology. They're going to have to dredge out 261 acres in Shingle Creek to put 1.5 million square feet of commercial, 7,000 units of apartment, hotel rooms, and 5,500 homes on that property, multi-family type. This is all floodplain. There's not a single ounce. As a simple engineer, I went to the soil maps, and I can tell you, and this is something that goes back to you, Boss. When you buy a piece of property, the first thing I do is I look at the soil maps, and I look at the topography,
The
elevation. Those are simple things. You know, people need to think a little bit to protect their own building, because no one's going to protect you more than yourself. Don't trust anyone.
No, I don't disagree with you, but we're in very privileged positions as such because of our educations and our background. And a lot of people are not in those privileged positions, and they're listening to so-called experts who don't know a damn thing. And even the experts in the county that approved that original development never thought about the development and the landmines, like I said. So we are punishing people that are not the original cause. We are punishing people who are quote unquote survivors. And as long as the cost, as Emily has pointed out, I think is borne by them and they understand it, that's fine. That's what's going to happen. And I'm certainly desperately opposed to putting a roof on a stadium and or redoing the Amway Center, because that's a commercial enterprise that makes hundreds of millions of dollars. And to do that, and yet we're still playing that game as such, that development game. We've got to do this to incentivize development. Well, what I'm saying is, here's what the cost is, the long-term cost of that development may be, and we are not punishing the people who were the original ones. We're certainly not going to punish the developer, and yet we're punishing the people who are being penalized by the fact that they've got lousy, crappy water.
So I'm going to circle back. I'm going to circle back to Shingle Creek, because that's going to be an issue for you. After that meeting last night.
Well, I think we are. If we can, government to me is to help people, to help people out who cannot do it themselves, and as such. And in some situations, that's what government does, and it does very well. In some situations, it does it really crappily. And we've got a history of crap development in Florida that goes back 100, 200, I don't know how many years as such. But to punish the people that are alive today, and because of the structure that was quote unquote approved by a government authority when they built out there as such, I'm not sure that serves any purpose.
But are we going to spend $100 million?
Yeah.
Are we going?
But we're not spending it, the people.
That's
live
not
there
true.
and
I
pay.
Will cost the county a lot, either directly through default or indirectly through our bond rate.
They don't have enough people out there.
It will cost the county a lot of money, one way or the other.
But as a resident there, I have no control of my property tax going up. I have to pay whatever comes in that statement. That's what I pay. Yeah. There's no argument to it. You know what I mean? And as a resident there, I know that is part of owning property and being part of Orange County.
I mean,
So if it came to, again, resolving an issue and we have to pay into it, then again, it's for the people.
but to me, what we're doing is potentially creating a huge problem. Now that system is gonna be designed for a lot bigger, because you can't just design a small sewage treatment plant.
Right.
For, how many people live there? About 2,000, 3,000?
We have 1,200.
1,200 people. We're gonna design a package plan or something.
1,800.
1,800, we're gonna try to design $100 million divided by whatever the number is for 30 years. They can't afford it. So that simple math is, it's too expensive.
Well, they did do the spreadsheets. The only thing, so we're estimating the total about $30 million.
They never cost.
No, they haven't costed, So right now, they're pulling hair out places because just the package.
I mean, this is, that we could argue the opposite side of this, where how unfair is it to expect 1,800 people to bear the cost of $30 million?
It'd be better to buy them out.
Let's do the math.
That's even.
That's a good idea.
Why don't we just buy them out?
Buy those houses.
Buy the
and
houses.
buy them.
And I had a comment to make about this, and the panelists here, they cannot read your comments, but I would love if you could read them out loud.
Okay. Well, I just shared, New York is addressing the problem of a failure to disclose flood risks. And Florida needs to follow that lead along with 29 other states. And just as you just mentioned, the real fix to this problem could be buying the land so that people can relocate. Because it's otherwise not fixable.
It's the same problem that we have on Rouse Road today. Rouse Road flooded, and everyone's acting like they were surprised the Rouse Roads. You know, it's not the hydrology, of course. The soils don't take. The reason why is because we have a dam up that was built back in the 50s. That dam has dried out all that property and changed the hydrology, changed the plants, changed the soils by oxidation. But the topography is the same. As we can tell you from Ian, that whole area flooded. Guess what's going to happen again when another Ian comes? It's going to flood again. The county should work with FEMA, buying everyone out on Rouse Road, including that senior center, and just turn it into a park because it's going to flood. Because the property that we just bought, thank goodness we bought that property, didn't flood any worse than it ever did before. I went down the day after the storm and looked at it. Downstream, it was well within its flood boundaries.
They were gonna build houses there.
They were going to build homes there, but there was the point is downstream, you would expect if this was a nightmare flood up on Rouse Road, which is north, the flow is south, north, this is south. Rouse Road would be actually lower than what the Big Bend area is south, north of there, which is the flow towards St. John's. It wasn't, it was well within the boundaries. So it didn't flood any worse than it did in any historical point. It was well within its flood boundaries. We have allowed in the 1990s to be built in a floodplain, just like we put a future land use over Shingle Creek, which obviously should never be built on. But we are going to bear the cost of somehow buying that developer out, and that's what they're doing us to. They're going to price us to buy a very expensive flood land.
This is a terrible situation all around because if you consider 1,800 people, so let's take 2 adults in a household, a family should bear the cost burden of $34,000. My family, like my husband and I have advanced educational backgrounds and we make an earning where we can afford to live. So grateful that we do. We can't afford that. This is terrible all the way around, and it all comes down to making bad decisions that we continue to make. We're approving. The grow is coming. It's the same situation.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
I know.
Grow is like
So we
the
do have to,
2023 version of
The Wedgeville.
Rocket City.
so we do have the formulas though on what people will be paying, so they'd be paying it and they'd be breaking even with what the price is and the rates are at Florida. They're so high that if the county purchased and the final bill was $30 million, they would break even. They'd be paying what they're paying now.
Did you include interest rates?
Okay.
With interest and everything,
Wait,
yeah.
let's
And another thing, that all of
That's how
this,
bad the rates are there. Well, the money that they're paying for water that they can't drink.
Family of two paying over $400 a month.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Too.
Totally understand.
It's awful.
The cost is bringing down on Mills Avenue, they just rebuilt the lift station there. The city of Orlando, that was $32 million for that one lift station. One lift station, $32 million. So $30 million would be amazing if we could build a whole system on a couple of miles of pipeline, because you're gonna replace all the pipe. You're gonna have to replace the lift stations because they're all really flat. So you're gonna have a couple lift stations. And then you have to have a full turf level sewage treatment, unless you pump raw sewage on a forced main to the closest one, which is Iron Bridge.
Well, they already have all of that.
No,
Nothing
Iron
you
Bridge
know.
is over capacity. The federal government has just cited them.
The
No, I'm saying Florida they already have everything working. We're not starting new.
We don't know what the condition, that's.
But we
the
don't know
next-
the conditions, yeah, so some pipes may need to.
As an
replace.
engineer, my assumption is everything's broken after 60 years sitting in the soils. That's my assumption. You gotta prove it differently. Assume the worst, hope for the best.
And this is terrible because the residents who are in the rural area like yourself, now you're also going to bear the cost for the others to hook. So no matter how we spin this,
Well, they
There are
states don't have to pay for it. It's not gonna be on just the users of that.
The
facility.
second part of that equation now, let's say we do it. So now they're happy. We built this sewage treatment plant. They have, developers gonna walk in and say, well, you get the capacity now. Why don't we have another 10,000 homes here?
and we can reduce your costs.
We can reduce your cost. And some future commissioners are like, well, that makes a hell of a lot of good sense. I can divide that number. And the moment plant will come across the street off of 520 where they own the property right across the street. And say, hey, can we tie in your new sewage treatment plant?
Well, 60 years later, they still have some empty lots that are ready for.
Just sell them really fast.
some,
They still have
Some.
some that
there's
are.
a lot, I would say
But
almost.
surprisingly, that place has developed a lot in the last.
Yeah, there's pockets where it's
There's
almost
still-
every lot is developed, but there's other places where it's like half the lots are still
I
vacant.
mean, when you're buying a piece of property and
But
your primary
can I
plant
say
is
something?
a pitcher plant, there's a
For our
problem.
time purposes here, we should either wrap up on this subject.
We got-
If Commissioner, if you
Okay,
want to discuss
we
phase
fixed that one.
3,
Yeah,
or hold that off until our next invite back.
Okay, we're on the
yeah,
last.
I think, we got phase 3 passed, whatever. So is there any new business? I know Kelly, you want to bring something up, and I want to give the other new members opportunity if they have any new business that they would like us to explore as well.
And Louise would like to talk about the Flora Wildlife Group.
Okay, you got 6 minutes.
All right, so I will be very fast. Our wonderful commissioner is termed out, so I have filed to run for District 5 Commissioner seat in 2024. So I filed to run and I'll launch my campaign and I'll be coming with petition forms, to ask people for signatures and things. But I would like to, I'm trying to collect as many community issues. I'm familiar with the community issues. I have attended literally hundreds in the last 10 years of BCC, PNC, LPA, BZA, RAC, all of them, so I am familiar and I do advocate. My campaign platform is to fight for people in the environment. And that is what I do. So that's
What you've been doing.
that's what I've been
Just
doing.
continue, it's up, you're gonna be paid now.
I will be required to step down from my profession, which is a setback, but I did
Oh, you don't
such
have to
a,
worry about the president coming back here.
You'll pay for
Yes.
the shrink.
so I'm a professor at UCF, so it would be a requirement to step back. So it's a hit professionally, but I looked really high and low with a group of people to find somebody who would, who would go and yes.
Yeah.
I talked to Corbin, I talked to you. So the opponent is a real estate developer.
Of course.
So, all right. Okay, then, next, who's gonna speak? Louis, you wanna talk about the corridor? Over here. falling apart, the whole thing's coming back.
This one, we're gonna pull the question.
Okay. You wanna have,
Yeah, I can hold
let
it.
her hold it, and you speak to it.
It's this one I want.
Yeah, well, we could just start with that one and I'll hold it.
I'll hold it and you talk.
Okay, just one of the things that I wanted to bring to attention to, I've been working with Florida Green Place Program, and one thing we really want to emphasize is what they call the Florida Green Place Corridor. And what exactly is the Florida Green Place Corridor? It's pretty much a natural highway. So let's say you're a bear, you're a panther, you can come to different areas. And so much of the stuff we've been talking about with development and everything, a lot of these borders are being choked out. Like there's little choking points right here. For District 5, so this is what the Florida corridor looks like for District 5 that kind of runs on this side, on the east side right here. And this is what's going on over here. So all this border, we're part of this highway. It's like the I-4, the 95, but for animals, for deer, for bears.
It's the St. John River.
Yeah.
So
area.
that light green area north of the dark green, what's that?
That's the econ.
But is that all publicly owned property or is that?
That's sort of greenish area. That's the areas that this is with the Florida Wildlife, the Association as well with the areas that they like to conserve. That these are high priority areas that are really in danger.
In the future, I'd like to see a map of Orange County showing what lands we own within those borders and what lands. Something that you guys should have in green space soon, so you know where your targets are.
Yeah, that was just that. So also, this is what District 5, but even more crucially, what district is this right here?
That's District 1.
So on District 1, they have a very crucial corridor right there that it is just a sliver right there. So if that gets developed right there, that gets cut off, like there's a whole population of animals that they won't connect. So if you have a population of bears on this side, and they can't go in between, that they're going to
They go to Disney, right?
They're gonna cut through the neighborhood.
They're going to the neighborhood, or they're going to get hit by cars.
In Disney last week.
Yeah, or they won't be able
Yeah,
to.
they did have that here.
They won't breed. Yeah, so you have extinction and that. They'll need more inbreeding. And so just something I want to call to attention.
So
Just develop these lands, and with the Green Place Corridor, we're trying to actually buy these lands. A lot of this is these Green Place Corridor. It's not exactly public land. These aren't state land. A lot of it's just agricultural lands, all kinds of land, but it is still
I
undeveloped.
mean, that big green area up by the border of Orange County and Seminole actually is like a property.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a kind of, the light green is actually right there.
So
That's right.
Sunny and the Grow, I think are both shown.
Yeah, that's the road.
Underneath your light green area.
Yeah, that's
Wish
all.
list. Yeah.
So that pretty much nukes that ideal.
Yeah.
Because the road wiped it out, and if we get the north, that's even worse. The only chance there is the econ and the RPZ, that's it. You got 1,500 feet border along the econ, and that's the only thing you got going, and it gets away.
Yeah.
Even the other part about this whole thing that I've been working with Beth and is this actually follows, if you look at those corridors, the Florida National Scenic Trail follows a lot of this. And what I'm trying to tell her that if you can make a game or work with the U.S. Forestry will buy land. This land that we own is U.S. Forestry, just north of up in Seminole County. Mills Creek is told 400 or 500 acres of the U.S. Forestry belongs.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to get Orange County to focus on that. Let them buy the land if possible. In fact, we have already spent half the money that the mayor has put out. And we're going to spend that. They ain't going to buy 23,000 acres in this. $100 million we're buying maybe 5,000 maybe lucky.
So is there a way with the farmland, if they're not willing to sell now, maybe they could put something on their deed
Conservation.
that would promise that the county would be the first buyer, you
First
know,
right of refusal.
yeah, first right of refusal. If their future generations decided to try to sell the land.
I'm not familiar.
But the cheapest way of doing it is what the state's been doing is buying conservation easements. They buy the conservation easement,
Yeah, but
basically,
they might not wanna do that right now, because that would give them it now. So I'm thinking like something in the future.
oh, they could.
Cause like the Ryball property, you know, there's stories that he was like, no way in hell will this ever be developed, but now his granddaughter owns it, or daughter, kind of. And so now she's selling it to developers, so if he had something in there, maybe like a first right of refusal on the deed, then this wouldn't have happened.
He should have set the dang thing up in a trust.
He should have, yeah.
It's going to,
Well, you know, another thing that I want to point out is that all of our discussions have been, for most of them, just based on the notion that the earth doesn't change, but it does, and it is changing. And a lot of the areas shown as targeted acquisition areas are going to be underwater in a few years. And I think that we need to think about that seriously when we prioritize where we're going to spend the money. We need to spend the money on places that are still going to be here in the future, and don't worry about these very low-lying places in South Florida that are
Florida
flooded.
is
I mean,
underwater.
Not a big
Talking
thing.
about all that discussion about $100 million for water plant, you buy quite a bit of land out there, probably by most of those people out.
$100 million doesn't go that far in this project. But we do have to talk as an organization how we approach the county for a permanent green place funding, because it was the grace of the mayor that he gave $100 million. But what they're not telling you is this utility tax that we have today, which earmarks 27% of that.
Alright, let's back up this, you know, the grace of the mayor, because actually, and I don't get credit for about who brought this. I'm the one who brought it up that we needed to look at purchasing land policies and all that, and that's when he was like, well, then let's throw some money at it, you know, 'cause-
But, I mean, I give you,
But that would have never happened if I hadn't, like, had us look at our policies and, you know, really make sure that we're doing something.
we could have citizens again introduce the idea to the charter, because this is how it actually kicked off, was that the Green Place Committee did meet, which was gonna be, it didn't make any headway, but it did bring up the whole crowd. That's how I learned about the utility tax, when the OPM department came and showed us like how, and the sheriff department's taking all the money. The sheriff department's taking money from all over the place to fill their budget. I don't have a problem budgeting money for anyone, but let's be truthful. If the sheriff needs $300 million a year, then let's earmark it properly. Because right now they're going into utility taxes that are earmarked to fund.
No, that's a whole political thing. They are getting a tax from the property taxes, but they don't want to raise it when they need more money, because then it looks like we're raising taxes, so instead they take it from the other.
But that's okay. You got to raise taxes, because let's be truthful. Development doesn't pay for itself. I mean, this is the scam of this whole thing, that we keep on playing this game that development pays for itself, everything's going to go fine,
Well,
and it's not. So we're stealing money.
I've
So
already
homeless
mentioned it, like, you know, budget after budget, you know, hey, why don't we look at this, sheriff doesn't want to, the mayor doesn't want to, and
I mean, every night on Livingston,
It's
underneath
how
I-4,
things
there's 36 people sleeping there right now. They can
but
go right
let's, and so, you know, our new members, do you have any new business?
Wait, real quick, Luis, is there anything that, you know, that we can do for you?
No, I'd really like to have maybe meet with you and maybe somebody from District 1 and see, because maybe we can work together on this, because it really affects them. They're even more at a choking point, you know, than you are on that side over there, because their corridor is a sliver. You know, so I'm not sure what some ideas to not be developed, or just make sure that this corridor is
It's right there.
we set up a meeting with somebody from District 1, I'd love to speak to them.
I'll give you their contact.
Thank you.
Just wanted to bring up October 3rd, 9 a.m., important discussion regarding the allocation of our tourist development tax. We get a lot of people that show up that say, oh, we're giving jobs, we're doing this, we're doing that. I'm a tourism and hospitality professor that specializes in tourism economies, and the jobs that they're giving are fueling the poverty in our community. And I think it's shameful that we are not considering using, instead of investing in the hard infrastructure, the state statute allows wiggle room to invest in soft infrastructure and soft infrastructure for the people. So if you can attend, please come and make a public comment because we are the minority standing up there for the people in comparison to the Chamber of Commerce reps, the lawyers, the owner, you know. It's
People who put money in
October 3rd at 9
campaigns. Is that gonna be a special
It's
workshop?
special, yeah, special.
So do we have the right to speak?
There will be public comment.
So it start at 9 a.m.?
Commissioner, can you make a comment that just says what percentage of your jobs will be full-time and pay a livable wage of $24 an hour?
So I actually sent out a form, a Google form, to all of the applicants asking them that information.
Nice.
We're at, but we're not getting a lot of responses. They're like, here's a proposal that we made to the board, which doesn't have all the information that I'm requesting. And some of it we even have to dig for. We also sent out this to all the arts and culture groups through United Arts. What was their response, Alexis? Like that they didn't have all the information, or they already submitted the information with the study that they were doing?
Yeah, some people said that they don't collect all the information of whether or not, their employees work multiple jobs or whether or not they're on social services.
Yeah, those were questions I had asked. So I asked how many of your employees have multiple jobs? I asked how many of your employees qualify for social services? Those are some things that they weren't able to answer. But I just looked at, so we just had a meeting with the convention center to go over their responses. And I was able to look up the income required for like SNAP or for welfare, where they're calling TANF, I think they call it now or something. TANF, yeah. And so based on those numbers, it doesn't look like they would qualify for social services, just for free information. But I don't have the information for the rest of them. But I will tell you that, at the lowest point, someone working full-time at the convention center is making $33,000 annually. But they're saying that they get overtime, plenty of opportunities for overtime, and according to the budget, they're spending over almost $2 million in overtime.
You shouldn't have to work overtime to get more time.
It's not, you shouldn't base a life on overtime.
Yeah.
Now, the question I have is,
Hold on,
And taking into consideration that because we have that Florida minimum wage that is up to 2026, when you look at the federal poverty line in comparison to the number of households to be eligible for subsidies, social services and stuff like that, they're eliminated. Although again, cost of living does not even come close
These are the
to what
working poor.
is the $12 that we're about to hit in September.
$12 an hour.
Okay, the benefits, but again, we've got,
There's no benefits.
there's different matrix that are being considered in evaluating, again, the poverty line and what it entails when we're saying all these jobs are being created, but they're.
The other issue is that these are not siloed projects. So the convention center depends upon restaurants, hotels, transportation. So, and these are some of the guilty parties that are fueling even more so poverty than just the convention center, Amway, and Camping World Stadium. So we can't look at these projects as silos. They use supporting products.
Enabling.
We are enabling it. So and the law permits the investment in soft infrastructure. I am very familiar with it. I do it for a living. And we observe it across the state of Florida, other counties doing it. It's our mayor will not lobby to get it done because he wants the donations for his campaign.
And the biggest, the biggest concern that I have is that he's looking to commit all future fundings for the next 10 years.
But-
Which, if he does that, if we do get some legislation changed, we won't have the money to be able to do that.
Let me just point, it's simple math. I talked on that last day, it's 4. You only have to count for 4. I count 1 right now. I did District 1 probably is 2. District 6 needs to be there, and District 4, that's 4. You got the votes to say, no, we're not doing anything, put the money in the bank, and that's what the comptroller has told me. If we don't spend that money today, it goes directly into investment accounts as it is today, as it's being collected. So 4 votes, you don't have to concentrate trying, you're not gonna ever convince the mayor, because his money, donations for his campaigns come from these people. So you can't convince the person to do something that's contrary to their existence. People pay a lot of money for these people. My question to you is, how did these big centers, we're only talking about the primary people that actually work for the center. How many are subcontractors and contractors who actually don't show up on those numbers? Do they show up in those
No,
numbers?
they do not.
So the vast majority of these people are contractors, because you don't want to hire real employees, because you can't get them. I mean, all the agencies are doing this. NASA does it too with contractors. Hey, the project's done. Bye. We did that with Lockheed. How many thousands of people walked out when the shuttle shut down? 20,000? Bye. You're done. That's the problem. The Citrus Bowl, the Camping Bowl, the vast majority of this, I would say 8 people maybe are full-time people there. The rest of them are contractors. They only show, it's an absolute, District 6 and the mayor should be ashamed for what they're pushing in that place. They could have a health school put there at UCF when I argued this 20 years ago. But no, we want the T-ball so that people can get $20 off the park that people's lawns. That's what the deal with they got. They got a dump in the middle of their community. And we need to stop putting money in to say, these things are, as a commission, you're supplying operational money for them. These are supposed to be for-profit organizations that should be supporting themselves operationally. We shouldn't be putting any capital from our taxes into running these things, but we are. Every year, there's a budget line for those things. That's wrong. 4, that's all we need. We need to convince, if there's anything that this commission does.
I can't talk to them.
No, you can't, but we can. What I'm telling the public here is, you need to go talk to the commissioners and convince District 6, District 4 to vote no, and just sequester the money until we solve the problem politically. You don't have to spend the money if you got 4 votes. The mayor has no power if 4 votes say no. That's the trouble with the commission. We have the strong mayor system, which I'm totally against, that he projects that total control. He doesn't. He has to get 4 votes. He's one of 7 votes. He needs
I
4.
write to them all the time.
They never.
I don't write to you because I know where you're gonna vote.
I mean, I do too. I know he's gonna. He's nice. He's a good guy, but he's not gonna support anything
I'm not
else.
talking about you, I'm talking about all the commissioners. I send letters.
You gotta go upstairs and visit. I mean, I try to visit this morning. No one was around this morning. I try once a week to go visit people. You're in a WebEx, I think. I tried to go and talk to you because I was going to remind you about the Chingle Creek issue, which is going to slam you guys. This is a huge takings issue. We're going to be hit for millions and millions of dollars because it's insane to even allow that to go. It's in the middle of a swamp.
So,
I don't know what you guys are doing.
social services income definitely, it was very low. You have to live in the street.
And there's an issue called the benefits. So people are making a low wage and they qualify for certain benefits like and then they get their salaries. It's still not enough salary to pay for all the things that they need, food and those things. But now they're disqualified from the services, so they're in this gap. And so they have to make decisions about, do I try to make a higher wage to make a better life for my family and lose the benefits?
And many of
Or
them
stay, you know,
That's what we're seeing.
stay where I am and just continue to take the benefits, but, you know, I can't progress and do
You said that was called a benefits gap?
benefits cliff.
This is
So
when
they fall off the cliff.
sure, if you try to go for higher wage, you're gonna lose the benefits. So you really go with this total package.
Correct, and there's some things that, there's a group that's working on, tackling that issue, and trying to increase the thresholds of qualifications for the benefits. Because, we're just creating, I don't like the way it sounds, but creating a welfare state where people almost have to stay there in order to get all of the things that they need for their families.
you really want to advance in your income and your education and all these things, it doesn't make sense. Because then I'm gonna lose food for their families and medical coverage.
And typically it's the medical coverage.
Right.
That's the broader issue.
That's also the food stamps and all of that.
I mean, we're subsidized money for stuff. Real housing, Walmart and other places to be operating and not paying those people fair wages and benefits. I mean, it really is a package. You can't just say a wage, it's a package. And healthcare should be a full suite of things. It shouldn't just be healthcare, it should be dental and other things. Like when I grew up, I was dirt poor. My dad got full benefits. He only made $4 or $5 an hour. But we were able to support 9 people plus 3 other jobs.
So for wage going up for the whole state, then nobody across the whole state would qualify. Because there were
Unless
more
they
unemployed.
increase the threshold of, so they need to bring them both up at the same time.
The problem is the
Because
cost
what
of
we're seeing, like in housing, we're seeing the cost of housing go up significantly. We've seen rents go up, and you're very familiar with this, 20%. But whose income has gone up 20%? Anybody here got a 20% raise?
25%.
Well,
It's all over the news.
okay, but
I voted no though, by the way.
besides, if you're like, you might get 2 or 3% raise, but your housing costs went up 20%, then that does not matter. So we need to be able to
security bill.
bring up, increases on a equal way. Can I talk about this?
Yes.
Because we're over time already. So
At the table, we have someone bring up something.
my organization is the backbone organization of a collective of people and organizations that have created a homeownership equity initiative. So the collective is the Homeownership Equity Collective. And the goal of this initiative is to increase homeownership among people of color by 5,000 households over the next 5 years. In Central Florida, which includes Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Lake counties, there's a gap of around 25% between white households and households of color. So in that Central Florida region, 76% of white households are homeowners, 50% and 52% of Latino households are homeowners. And that is one of the biggest indicators of household wealth, generational wealth, financial stability, etc. So we have created this initiative. We're there for the beginnings of our meetings and administrators that have participated throughout. So we're wrapping up finish the planning, we're just getting the reporting together on how we're going to achieve this goal. We're looking at policy issues to help create opportunities for this. We're looking at, we have a strategy team called Places that is looking at what will need to be built because we don't have enough affordable housing in Central Florida as it is. And so we need to look at different types of home ownership models. So we talked about single family homes and community land trust options. We're talking about condos and townhomes and other creative home ownership opportunities for people. We've got a preparation group that has come up with a pathway to identify where people fall in terms of readiness to purchase homes and what resources they need to get them there so that we can match them with those resources and have coaches to walk alongside them, which I think is really innovative because the process can be daunting, it can be overwhelming, and a lot of people may start and give up. So if we have these coaches to walk alongside them and, cheer them along, say don't give up and help them when they get stuck, say here's the next resource you need, and get them through the entire process. That's what we're working towards. So I have just some basic information about the initiative here for anyone who's interested. We will be doing, we're literally just working on this afternoon, the full report together with the reports from each of the strategy teams and information about the overall initiative. And then we'll be kicking it off in early November for people to start participating in the initiative. So, just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and I'll say I did go to the first one they started. It's a whole coalition, like literally, of all these different organizations and nonprofits coming together to really make a plan for the solution. So it's very impactful, and I think like the most important part that's happening right now. Definitely would like to have on the next agenda, I don't know if you'd have the report by then to kind of give us an update.
October 13th.
Maybe.
I'll be in the field that
You know
day.
what, I will be here then.
I'll be in the field.
I am off, but I can do it.
Okay.
Quite that point.
Yeah, so if you have any handout, we could, we could get it for the staff, and we could have it in the minutes, and you also email it out to people.
Emily, a question, is this the program that the city of Orlando was looking at? That they quote unquote, when they talked about their housing situation, of dealing with this group as such,
I am not sure. I know Orange County has at least, I found out through some Orange County staff about it.
okay,
I think there was some of the city of Orlando people there as well, that first we know into. I just had representatives from Orange County and city of Orlando.
did you work out an agreement with the city of Orlando? The city council? Did your organization do that? Because I remember a meeting there that I think your group or somebody like you presented the alternative for public housing, and that the ownership of the land, as I understand your program, the ownership of the land is separated from the physical real property as such that sits on it. You maintain the control of the land as such. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that was the program that they were looking at, because the land acquisition was so expensive.
There's a program, as well, that is funded through Lift Orlando. It is for a particular, corridor within Orange County. But, they were, there's some private funding that's coming through that nonprofit, particularly focused on housing, providing affordable housing and so forth. So I'm not sure if that's something that.
So I wasn't delusional then, that was discussed at a city council meeting?
That's probably what you're referring to.
Okay, very
They
good.
did,
Getting old.
Lift Orlando has been working with Campbell Square Community Land Trust and with some townhomes in West Lakes.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything on the next meeting's agenda you all would like to have listed? So that we can have that agenda ready for.
The 13th, I will not be here. I'll be up in Steve Foster kind of trees.
Okay.
I just
Kelly,
show
will you be
hands.
available?
Who will be available October 13th?
I'm sorry, say again, Alexa?
I'm sorry, October 13th, will you be available?
Yeah, up at Goldenrod? The
Yes.
Goldenrod Rec Center?
Yes.
Yeah. So I can fall out of my house and go right there. Thank you very much, Alex, I appreciate it. I hate to drive. I will be there.
That is a Friday, because that was the only day you can get that location.
Like this one.
You do?
I'm gonna be, yeah, this is,
Let's
let's rotate. This is, for me, this is.
So we're kind of about the same area, you're about the same.
Yeah, I try to work out the schedule. I don't know why it's any closer. Yeah, nothing. The last one, I had to connect remote because that storm came, and I was like, I am not driving to that. So the Zoom does provide opportunities for more engagement.
And any agenda items for the next meeting?
Insurance crisis.
Sorry.
Agenda items for
And
next
let's see
meeting?
on D and E again, would be good.
On what?
D and E letters to you. Lake Forget and Flores.
So Lake Picket North, Flores. Definitely keep updates on the CRC. Louise, do you have another update you would like to make on that thing as well?
I think just more info about the border wildlife corridor, what we do in conservation for that area, so might be coming out of the Green Place meeting, I'll give you an update on that as well.
Okay, cool. Let's see what else. What else county, I guess we could add TDT there, any updates. Let's see.
Yeah, encourage.
Is
Clean water.
clean water. So I know, what's going on with the county actually having like that resolution? I think, we had gone back and forth on that.
The county?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that high in the leadership, so I don't really know everything that's going on. Can I leave petitions for your office?
Yes.
Can we have an update on the wetland ordinance as well in October?
The wetland ordinance, there was some feedback that they did receive that they're gonna do some more work on.
I mean, for the next meeting, you don't have to do it now, we just
Yeah,
need
no.
to get on October.
That is really a lot of stuff. I will, maybe we should have a guest speaker from staff to do that update. It's a lot, yeah.
I'd love to present at the November meeting.
Okay, so we'll have the, home ownership equity initiative, so HEI, are you calling it?
You know, try to get, whittle it down to acronyms.
So that will be for November. All right, anything else before we go?
Stormwater and well. Study, I'm gonna try to quote the stormwater engineer. It's an APD.
Meeting adjourned?
Need some language. How are you?
Meeting adjourned.
Maintenance, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Okay,
second.
all approved?
Yeah.
All right.